All right, welcome to the 1130 Tiger Podcast. I am Dylan Marsh, and today we're going to be talking basically about college sports and a little other things in the news thrown in there toward the middle, but we're going to be talking about the College World Series, as you can tell. And then we're also going to be talking about some college football and my Heisman Watch list and also my predictions for the college football playoff, even though it's still kind of ways away. We're 63 days away from college football. How exciting is that? So we're going to go ahead and start talking about the College World Series. And Coastal Carolina wins the College World Series by beating Arizona 4-3. And this was just a great series all around. And this was a great game. It was 0-0 going into the sixth. And then the sixth, Coastal Carolina exploded and scored 4 runs with a 2-run home run to end the inning, basically. And they were up 4-0. And Arizona comes back in the sixth and scores 2. Then Arizona is in the ninth, and they end up scoring a run, so it's 4-3, and then have a person on second and third with 2 outs, and it's a full count. You can't get any better than that, especially in any type of baseball situation. You cannot get any better than that. Championship game, 2 runners in scoring position, down by 1 with a full count, and Coastal Carolina gets a strikeout, and they win. The reason I think Coastal Carolina won, well, I think I know why they won, is because of the pitching of Alex Beckwith. Alex Beckwith got the most outstanding player of the College World Series, but he's also, it's Andrew Beckwith, but it's also, he was 15-1 on the season. That's the most wins in the entire country. And he pitched 2 complete games in the College World Series, 2 games that they won. And he had a great outing in this game 3. He gave up 6 hits, gave up 2 runs, but he had 2 strikeouts. But it was a quality start because he got the win in the national championship. And when you see a team like Coastal Carolina, like this really small school, go up against Arizona, who no one expected to make it to the World Series either, when they go off against each other, everyone's rooting for Coastal Carolina because everyone knows Arizona. But who knows Coastal Carolina? And that's just like a Cinderella story when they finally won. It reminded me of Cleveland whenever they won because the pitcher is in the same position LeBron was after Game 7. He was crying into the ground. The coach couldn't stop crying into the press conference. And it was just one of those moments where we realized, wow, this is why we love sports. Because when the underdog prevails, it's just one of those things you get chills down your back and you're like, wow. Wow. I'm really glad I watched the World Series. If you didn't watch the World Series, you really missed out. All right, we're going to start with a new segment I'm going to call, Are We Still Talking About This? And if you don't know who we're talking about yet, it's someone that's in the news all the time for no reason, especially lately, and it's Johnny Manziel or Johnny Football or Johnny, I'm not even on a team, so why are we still talking about him? He got suspended 4 games by the NFL for the NFL drug use policy, and we act like we're shocked. And then we're going over and analyzing everything, but why would we even care, really? He's not even on a team to really get suspended from, and it's not going to help his case in getting signed. I saw an article, and the caption said, "Don't expect to see Johnny Manziel on the field in 2016." Really? Like we didn't already expect that? We see what he's doing. He's in Cabo partying, having one last hoorah before he becomes sober, like he told TMZ he's supposed to try to get sober tomorrow. Why would you wait? This is coming from the person who knows him the most. His father told reporters that he needs to go to jail because he's a druggie and that's the only place he's going to get help, which is really sad. And I think we just need to stop talking about Manziel, because if we stop talking about Manziel, it would be a lot easier on him, for one. And 2, if we want a big story that people actually care about, it will be Manziel's comeback to the NFL. And if he gets a comeback, that'll be a bigger story than any of this put together, especially right now, because there's no reason, because he doesn't have a team to get suspended from. He's not going to play either way because he's not even signed. He's not even on a practice squad. So we need to stop talking about him And the news will come later on if he makes a comeback like he says he's going to. All right, next segment is a new one I'm going to start calling, Whoa, that's impressive. And what's really impressing me right now is the Cleveland Indians. The Cleveland Indians have won 13 games in a row, which is even more crazy to think about. They have not lost a game since the Cleveland Cavaliers won the NBA Finals. They finally won a championship. The Cavaliers did. They brought a championship to Cleveland after a 52-year drought, and now the Indians are starting to look like a World Series team all of a sudden. But before the streak, they were still a good team. It's just no one really noticed them because they were kind of in the mix. And now with their pitching this month has been insane. Their ERA this month is 2.47. And Mike Napoli, that whole team, that whole fan base, everybody's just gathered around Mike Napoli. If you don't know who Mike Napoli is, maybe if you're a Ranger fan or you've watched the Rangers in the World Series they made 2 years in a row, he's a dude with the beard who played catcher and first base that it seemed like the whole team gathered around him, even though they had Josh Hamilton, Nelson Cruz, Beltre, Cliff Lee, and all these stars. But Mike Napoli was the guy getting it done. And that's exactly what he's doing in Cleveland right now. And Cleveland looks like a World Series team. I don't think the streak's going to last very much longer. But when the streak ends, they're still going to be around. They're going to be a very consistent team, and that's a team to look out for. I'm very surprised to say that the Cleveland Indians are doing good because it's been such a long time. All right, now we're going to get on to college football, and I'm going to start talking about LSU. And the reason I'm going to talk about LSU is because I feel like a lot of people aren't paying a lot of attention to the new defensive coordinator that they hired with Dave Aranda. With Dave Aranda, they hired him from Wisconsin, who's actually their first game this year. LSU's traveling, and they're going to play in Lambeau Field against Wisconsin for their first game. But I don't think a lot of people know Dave Aranda had Wisconsin's defense number one in the country last year. With all their stats combined, they were at least top 3 defense in the country last year. They averaged 13.7 points a game, and they were the number one scoring defense in the entire nation. And they also ranked in the top 7 of the top 5 categories of defense with total defense, the rush defense, the scoring defense, and the yards allowed and the defensive pass efficiency. Now it's with the Big Ten school, which I'm not taking anything away from Wisconsin, and I'm not going to say I'm one of those people who thinks SEC is completely dominant, because I do not believe that whatsoever. But if he can do that with a Wisconsin team, imagine what he can do with an LSU team with all the athletes they have and the recruits they get. Their defense this year is going to be so much better than it was last year, and it was already pretty good last year. And I think what they need to work on is Brandon Harris being consistent and getting the passes and the completions he needs on third down, because you cannot put all the pressure on Leonard Fournette to carry that team, because all the great running backs, they usually had a great quarterback and a great offensive line. LSU has a great offensive line, Leonard Fournette, a great running back, but they have Brandon Harris, who I think is going to step it up this year. He's a junior, got some experience under his belt now, and Cam Cameron has not given up on him, which gives him confidence. And I feel good about LSU this year. I'm going to talk about them later on when it comes to my college football predictions. I'll let you know about that. But now we're going to go on to my Heisman Watch list. That's Dave Aranda right there. You see him? Forgot I had a picture there. But now we're going to go on to my Heisman Watch list. And, of course, we're going to start off with LSU's Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette is a beast. He's listed at 6'1", 230. I think he might be taller than that. I'm not sure. But this dude plays huge, plays fast, he plays rough, he plays physical. This is the dude who had people jumping all over him. He was running people over. He was making everyone's jaw drop at the beginning of the season. But then it happened during the Alabama game where they tried to put too much on him. And that's what I was talking about, where Harris needs to start stepping up and receivers need to start stepping up and getting third down completions to get first downs. They need to take some weight off his shoulders. And he's my favorite to win the Heisman. I think he's going to start strong and he's going to finish stronger. And But if he doesn't win, this is the other person I think is definitely going to be invited to New York. Again, Stanford running back Christian McCaffrey. He broke Barry Sanders' record for most all-purpose yards last year, which is a record no one thought was going to be broken. Am I wrong? And he broke it in the last game of the season, but not the bowl game, which means he had an incredible year. And it shows how much of an incredible year he had, because against USC, even though they weren't really great last year, he had 461 total yards against USC and a passing touchdown. This dude's a complete athlete, and his future is so bright. I think when he gets to the NFL, he's going to be one of those surprise draft picks that people are going to count him out. But I think he's going to be a heck of an NFL athlete. He's going to be able to play multiple positions, I think, in the NFL, because he's so agile. He can catch. You know, they might move him to receiver as a little slot receiver. But look out for Christian McCaffrey. And my next player on my watch list is Oklahoma quarterback Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield has been one of those players who's been an underdog his whole life. He was a walk-on at Texas Tech his freshman year. Didn't get along with Coach Kingsbury. Then he transferred to Oklahoma, sat out a year, and then when he came back, no one really knew what he was about. But everyone started realizing Baker Mayfield was the second game of the year with against Tennessee in Knoxville when they were down by 24 and they came back and won in overtime. That's when everyone was able to see who Baker Mayfield really was. And what he really was a playmaker. He's one of those guys who can run out of the pocket, break tackles while escaping the pocket, and then throw it 20 yards downfield for completion. But he can also run, but he's more of a pass first. He doesn't get rattled. He's one of those players, if you hit him hard, he's going to get up, clap right in your face, and get all pumped up, get the team pumped up. He's a true leader. He gets one of those people. He's one of the people who the team gathers around through his energy and through his passion, his love for the game. And you can see that's what happened last year after Oklahoma lost to Texas. After that, they were the highest scoring offense in the country. And he basically took lead of that offense, that team, and led them to a college football playoff. And I think he should have gotten invited to New York last year, but it was just a great performance by everybody last year. So I understand why he didn't. But this year, look out for Baker Mayfield and possibly another college football playoff appearance. My next player is Clemson quarterback Deshaun Watson. We all know about him. He led the Tigers to a national championship, and they lost to Bama last year. But this guy, Deshaun Watson, finished third in the Heisman vote last year behind McCaffrey and Henry. But he's an all-around player, not just a quarterback. This dude passed for over 4,000 yards last year with 35 touchdowns. But then he also, as a quarterback, as I remind you, rushed for over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. It's a perfect system for him. He's the perfect college quarterback right now. His arm he throws bullets, I'll tell you that. He zips the ball in there. It's hard. He's got a quick release, and definitely a front runner. And my dark horse is Florida State running back Dalvin Cook. He last year he ran for over 1,600 yards and 19 touchdowns. He's so explosive off the ball, and is a key exponent for the Seminoles. And that's my Heisman Watch right there. Now I'm going to go to my predictions for the college football playoff. I have, with the number 1 or 2 seed, I think it's going to be either LSU Tigers or Alabama Crimson Tide. I think it's going to be the winner of those two, I think, because those two defenses are just going to be unstoppable. Bama has one of the top front sevens in the history of college football, I believe. It's crazy how Saban recruited all these defensive tackles to come in knowing that he was recruiting all these other defensive tackles. And they all get playing time. They rotate. They have fresh legs of the best defensive tackles in the country, which is almost impossible to get by, which is why I think LSU or Alabama are going to be the number 1 seed in college football playoff. My number 2 is going to be Florida State. I think Florida State's going to overcome Clemson in the ACC. I think because they have a stacked defense. They have Dalvin Cook, who I think is going to break out even more this year, and Jimbo Fisher's recruiting class. And number 3, I think, is going to be Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma I think their offense is still there. Their explosive offense. The only person they really lost was Sterling Shepard. And their defense is what's going to be the question for them to see if they can get back, because they lost Zach Sanchez, Eric Stryker, Charles Tapper, all these big-time playmakers for the defense. And we're going to see if it's a rebuilding year or a reloading year. Because if they can reload, then you'll see them back in a college football playoff. And number 4, you may laugh at me. I don't care. I'm calling the Michigan Wolverines. I think Jim Harbaugh has done his job. He came into Michigan knowing that they weren't going to be great their first year or two. And now what he did was recruit. And that's exactly what he's done. Because he's got commits locked and loaded. He has this way of recruiting that makes people want to come there. You go follow him on social media and see all the stuff he does. He had a sleepover with a kicker that he wanted on his team. Sounds weird, but the kicker committed. You know, he has the top recruiting class, one of the top recruiting classes this year. He's a heck of a coach. I don't know if a lot of people remember what he did at Stanford. He rose Stanford to the powerhouse they are now as they slowly decrease. But so I think it's going to be Florida State it's going to be Alabama or LSU as a 1 seed against Michigan State. Against Michigan. So either Bama, LSU versus Michigan. And then the 2 seed, I think, is going to be Florida State versus Oklahoma, the 3 seed. And I'm probably way off. It's way too early to tell, but that's my way too early college football predictions. And that's the show for today, guys. Thank you for joining in. I'm going to try to have another one up Sunday morning. Just come back, watch the next one. Next one, we're going to talk about the NBA free agency and possibly recruits, more college football, and we'll talk NFL too. So thank you. Have a good rest of your day.